Hey guys, welcome back to Blind But Not Broken podcast. I'm your host, Junior. I wanted to discuss today. I had a call from an old buddy of mine. This is back in the 80s and 90s. We knew each other, and it's funny we were discussing things. He was a mechanic, and of course, I was a trucker, and he used to work on my truck. And guy was genius. His name was Ted. He was totally genius. Smart. He had this guy made me want to be a better man. He really did. He had an incredible family. His wife's name was Wida. Believe it or not, Wida, and she was amazing. And then he had his children. And the thing that really got me was he had taken in, this guy was such an incredible man that he had taken in his sister's kids because she couldn't take them. She couldn't take care of them, and he raised them as his own. I mean, you don't even hear about that nowadays. But this is what this guy was all about. Yeah. I mean, back then I had a temper and I was a knuckle dragger, and I didn't know anything about Jim Rohn or Tony Robbins or nothing about personal development. I was a penis wrinkle. Bottom line, it boiled down to as I'm talking to him, all this stuff is flooding back to me. I mean, we actually, he would be who I would spend time with when I had time off. If I had like if I was laid over for the night or whatever, I'd go home to his house, and he had a boat. We used to go out fishing and stuff. Like if I had a weekend off, we'd go out fishing. It was rare that I had one, but when I did, that's what we did. We go fishing, and but we were, it reminded me of a story where we didn't have a lot of time. I was only there for the night, so we went and got us, I think, a 6-pack of beer, and his boat was in the driveway, and we took a bucket, or maybe it may have been just a goldfish jar, and I think maybe it had a goldfish in it. I'm not sure, but we took it out and we stuck it out at the end of the boat, and we sat in the boat drinking beer with our lines out, with a line down into this thing, and people would drive by and beep at us and laugh, of course, because it was funny. Two grown men in the middle of a boat, in the middle of a driveway, fishing for a goldfish. Go figure. We were not. I was crazy back then anyway. But anyway, it boiled down to, we're laughing about that and stuff. And I remembered his son, and his son was just this. I knew this kid was going to end up on drugs and go to prison for the rest of his life, and just the whole 9 yards. He was just a little evil shit. He really was. And then he went. I haven't seen him for years and years and years. And apparently he went into the service. And thank you, Trevor, for your service, by the way. Major props, bro. But he went into the service, and apparently he came out and he was totally changed. I mean, it shows you that the service can actually help you if it's the actual service, and not some weird thing. The service actually helped him, and I mean, now apparently he has like a small 60-acre ranch. He has about 25 head of cattle, and is married and kids, and I mean, just the whole 9 yards. And it was where we're talking, as me and Ted are talking, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking, wow, did I have that wrong? Don't judge a book by the way it acts, by its cover. I mean, I was blown away to hear this kid. I'm so proud of this kid. Trevor, if you ever see this, I am so proud of you, bro. I am. I'm so proud of you. Kudos to you, and kudos to your family. I mean, but it's amazing. I mean, we're talking about it, and of course, Ted's talking about all, different things like his wife and, his daughters, and how they all have, they all either got married, or they've gotten a significant other or whatever, and they've got their kids, and I'm just thinking about, and these kids were itty bitty. I mean, I'm talking, like they, one of them that was like so young. I'm talking, not even 10 years old. I mean, they were so young, and they were awesome. They were awesome kids, except for Trevor. Trevor was a shit. But other than that, they were awesome kids. And it blew me away to think that, how different everything turned out. I mean, Trevor, the one I thought was most likely to end up shot to death because he had a big mouth, is this incredible man now, and that I'm so proud of. And I was like, wow, look at us all. I mean, I was a knuckle dragger back then. You said you said boo to me back then. You ended up with a fat lip. I was that kind of guy, I mean, I was a big old country boy, full beard. If you watch the full episodes, if you've ever gone to the Patreon channel, there's actually I created with AI. There was a picture of me and a friend of mine named Mike Covey, and there's a picture that we made an actual. I made an actual video out of with the AI. Sounds just like me. But it was like me in my 20s. It was ridiculous. I was full beard, the full mustache. First, you can't even see my face. I mean, I was just this big old knuckle dragging redneck that wore bib overalls. That's all I wore, bib overalls. I mean, back when Oshkosh made them, for guys my size. I mean, I was a big boy. I was probably between 275 and 300 pounds for 90% of my life. I mean, I was just big. Like I told you in a previous podcast, I told you I power lifted for a long time, and then when I went trucking, I kept eating like I was powerlifting. Well, I still had that bulk. It was a lot. I had a bunch of muscle, but it was also not all muscle, not like when I was powerlifting. There was a lot of fat mixed in there. But as we're talking and stuff, it just reminded me of those days, and reminded me of a lot of things that I did back in those days. I don't remember if I told you all before, but I used to go to a lot of concerts, but I'd go backstage, and you could do back when I was trucking, when I first started trucking and stuff, it was for like my first 10, 15 years of trucking, you could park where if they had a concert going on somewhere at a venue, you could park where the trucks park, and you could go in the back door, and they would just assume, if you acted like you belonged there, they would just assume that you did, and they'd give you the lanyard or whatever, they'd give you a sticker or whatever, so you could go in there and backstage. And I saw a lot of concerts. I saw hundreds of concerts that way, being backstage and partying with different artists and things like that. We're talking about this, and I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I'm thinking, God, we got away with murder back then. But it was like for me, just Ted. What had happened was Ted had seen one of the short videos that end up coming out of these podcasts, the short videos that end up going on to reels or whatever, and AI does that too. So I don't know all it goes to, but he said on TikTok, I think he said he saw something, and I don't remember making a TikTok account, but apparently I have one. But anyway, so he saw me on that, and it got him to reach out to me, and that blew me away. I mean, this guy, we were in Arizona together, and then he was so good that Freightliner, the truck manufacturer Freightliner, ended up hiring him away from, at the time, Swift Transportation. And he had already gone to Swift in like outside of Portland, Oregon. They had a terminal up there, and he was working there, and they hired him, and that's where he went. And then he went from there to an airline, a small airline, and he was working on planes, as a mechanic on planes, and they'd fly him all around the country, and even up into Alaska. And when they needed a mechanic up there or whatever, I mean, they'd fly him all over the place. And he's telling me all about this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, we traveled so much back then. It was hard to have a home life, but this guy did it. He had a home life. He had kids. He had everything. I mean, he had a great life. He still does. And it's like we talked about my blindness, and about my charco foot. And as we're talking and stuff, I'm just thinking about all the different things that we used to do. Go fishing out in the ocean, and into rivers that were coming in from the ocean and stuff. And Ted had this fairly nice sized boat that we would go fishing in. And I mean, it was nice enough to be able to go out, not way out into the ocean, but to get out a little bit, and like into a bay, but yet it also was shallow enough to where we could go up like rivers and stuff, where the creek bed would get rocky and stuff, and he could literally skim by. It was wicked. He had mad skills when it came to operating the boat, but apparently he got rid of the boat a couple of years ago. But but I was just, as we were talking and stuff, it just reminded me of how one of the things that it reminded me of is when we were talking about Trevor, his son, and what I thought was going to happen to Trevor, and judging that book by its cover. I mean, he wasn't a bad looking kid, but he was that kind of kid. He was the little Johnny. He was a little Johnny. That's what he was. And I mean, he'd argue with anybody. And then to see or to hear what he has made of himself and what he's doing with his life now. And it just blew me away that he has made good and has a family and all that. And it's like, I'm not the knuckle dragger anymore. It's not because I'm older. It's just because of the fact that I found, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Les Brown. I found these guys, and he learned a different way. The Army or whatever I forget the branch of military they said he was in. It didn't matter. He served, which highest respect for those who serve. Highest respect. Anybody who doesn't, go ahead and not listen to my podcast, please, because our military deserve our respect. Anybody who's willing to go in and serve our country and maybe just end up dying for the country, the ultimate sacrifice. You never know. But anybody who's willing to do that, I have the utmost respect for him. And like I said, it did wonders for him. And he, just hearing about him and how much he turned his life around, made me think of how funny life is, because of the fact that we all have a choice. We all have choices. I tell you, every day that ends in Y, you have a choice, and you do. And this just proved it again, that you have this choice. You have the opportunity to change your own life, because you can't change anything else unless you change you. If you want things to change, you have to change. Jim Rohn. You want things to get better, you have to get better. Jim Rohn. Simple deal. It's so simple when you hear it. It's not simple to put it into practice. That takes work. But nothing worth having comes for free. You work your buns out for it. That's what you do. It's like, now I'm trying to do this podcast. Now I'm also trying to raise $5,000 so that I can use AI to answer a phone, so that I have everything within button's reach from my hand, so that I don't have, because I can't see stuff. So it's very hard for me to do different things. And having an AI program that can help me take it to the next level and do more in the podcast realm. I only have so much money to do this stuff, and I have to pay for certain things like AI editing and that kind of thing. I have to pay for that stuff. That's not free. Well, I'm willing to do it because if, like I said before, if one person gets something out of this, well, the cool part about this is it actually touched somebody. It touched Ted. Ted reached out to me, and what a marvelous day. What a marvelous thing. I saw his number pop up and I went, holy cow. I was totally blown away. And it made my whole day. Not that, my whole day doesn't, because I had since last night, I put on a piece of meat last night on the smoker, and I had it on all night. So I just took it off like 3 hours ago. But I'm even having to reteach myself how to do things and different things. And it was like to talk to somebody that I knew so many years ago that knew me and who I was and what I did and etc. That was an amazing thing. And to realize that all those kids had grown up and become family people and had children of their own and were making a contribution to society, a good contribution to society. It just blew me away. But I had to share that with everybody because of the fact that it was so personal, but not what I was expecting. I am so glad that I was proven wrong about Trevor. I'm so glad I was proven wrong about the man. He definitely, and it proves also that the military is a good place for somebody who's a screw up. Bottom line, even his dad thought he was a screw up, I think, back then. Now, I don't know that. That's just a thought. But again, it's just one of those things. It's how simple, but yet impactful something can be in your life. My life, it was Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins. Hell, this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I will literally be on a session with Tony Robbins for like 12 hours a day. That's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, for like 12 hours a day. It's called Unleash the Power Within. And I actually got gifted that by my wife's boss. Gifted me that. Because these things run anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000. This particular thing does. And then you've got all this other stuff that goes on. And he gifted me this because he does the $10,000 one. which is amazing. I mean, these are life changing events. I mean, literally life changing. They're guaranteed to change your life. And I'm going to get to do this, which I'm so excited about because I never got to see Jim Rohn in person. I got to hear him, but I never got to see him in person. But now I'm going to get to see Tony Robbins. This is going to be, he's going to be in Vegas. That's where this event is. I'm not going to be in Vegas. I'm going to be coming into whatever on the computer or whatever. And so I'll be sitting, 3 inches away from this widescreen TV, and it'll be like I'm right there. And so that's going to be excellent and wonderful. And I'm very excited about that. You never know. Like I said, I wasn't going to be able to afford to go to this thing. I had done a free 3-day, it was over the weekend, it was a free 3-day thing with Tony for about 4 hours a day, and it was the lead up to this event that Unleash the Power Within. And this event is the, if you do the free one, you have your life changed. And if you take notes and if you do all that stuff, I can't take notes. I don't have that. Again, part of the reason why I need this equipment is because then it'll actually take notes for me so that I can have stuff read back to me, that kind of thing. All about AI. Anyway, but getting to do that, I strongly recommend if you get a chance to do a Tony Robbins event or a Les Brown event for free, small event. And Tony Robbins aren't really small. They're, like I said, they were 3 days in a row and it was 4 hours a day. And you got to be wanting to you got to be wanting to change your life, because otherwise you won't put the time in. You're going to put the time into what you want, and that's okay. If you want to stay in the same and drink beer on the weekends and don't worry about anything else and just stay in your old slum and watch everybody else succeed except for you, more power to you. If you're okay with that, more power to you. I'm not. I want to keep changing. I want to keep, it's like one of the things Tony says, if you don't use it, you lose it. Okay, it's the, and I forget what it's called, but it's a good theory. It boils down to, it's like anything else. If you don't use your brain, you lose the brain power. If you get out of high school and you don't use what you learned, you're going to forget it. I mean, it's true. It's a simple deal. It's very true. Hence why I want to keep growing, keep getting better at at the different things. I want to be able to do that, and I will, because I do have it hurts bad enough. I told everybody, I don't know, in one of my podcasts earlier, I said, if the story Jim Rohn told about two ranchers talking and the dog laying on the porch. I mean, that affected me a lot, even though it was so simple, but it affected me a lot. And I realized it was true. If it hurts bad enough, you will change it. If it doesn't hurt bad enough, then you aren't hurting enough yet. It's just that simple. When you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you'll do something about it. Just like I did. We're all the same when it comes to this stuff. It's not like you are different or I'm different on this thing. We're not. It takes the same amount of effort. Like I said before, you can be it takes just as much energy to be an ass as it does to be awesome. I just choose to be awesome. Simple deal. You can do the same thing. I hope you do. I hope you choose to. Life is a wonderful thing if you just let it be a wonderful thing. But you have to choose that. You have to decide that's what you want. Bottom line. And like every other time, I hope that you choose to make this your best day ever. And I hope you choose to do that with every day that ends in Y, because it's a choice. It's a total choice. And if you choose to do that, life becomes pretty cool. And that's what I wish for you. But it's up to you. I'm glad you decided to watch this. I'm glad maybe it's making impact. I hope other people tune in. But until next time,